What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Today's episode is going to be a little bit of a shorter one. I kind of want to piggyback off of episode 1 when we were talking about the fair value gaps. So we're going to talk about how the market reacts to these different gaps. We're going to talk about when they get respected, when they get disrespected, and what that means for where price wants to move. So get out your notes and let's get right into it. Okay, so I want to talk about how price can react to these different fair value gaps that we see. So if you're taking notes, go ahead and write this down, and I'll show you examples on the charts here in a second. It might sound confusing for right now, but we'll fix that. So, untapped fair value gap. That is a gap that has not been visited by price yet. So, an untapped fair value gap has not been visited by price yet. A respected fair value gap is a gap that has been visited by price. So, a candle, body, or a wick will go into the gap, and then it delivers in the direction we expect to go. So we talked about bearish fair value gaps and bullish fair value gaps. What price will do is in a bullish scenario, it'll come down and touch the gap and then deliver higher. In a bearish scenario, it'll come back up a little bit, kind of like it did right here. I'll show you a more in-depth example. But it'll come back up, touch the gap, and then deliver lower. So this isn't the magic pill. This isn't something that we can just take by itself and it's going to work. But it is a good indicator, especially on the higher time frame candles like the 1 hour and the 4 hour, of where price wants to go. And then we have a disrespected fair value gap, which is also called an inverse fair value gap. You'll see these abbreviations a lot, but that's a gap that has a candle closure through it, and then it keeps going in the opposite direction that we expect to deliver. So in a bearish situation, price would come back up, close through, and keep going. And in a bullish situation, it would come back down, close through, and keep going. Okay, before we look at some examples on the charts, I want to show you guys some very simple examples of what it looks like when these gaps get respected and when they get disrespected. And this is something I want you all to copy down in your notes. This is a helpful diagram to have. So when a fair value gap gets respected, what's going to happen is price is going to trade down back into our fair value gap, down into this zone. It'll touch the top, it'll touch the midpoint, and later on we'll get into knowing how to identify exactly where it's going to reverse. But we're going to look for price to trade back into this zone, and then if it's going to get respected, it's going to push back out, and we're going to get a candle closure on a bullish example. We're going to get a candle closure back above, and we're going to continue to move higher. Okay? If this gap is going to get disrespected, what's going to happen? Price is going to trade back down into this zone, and actually I'll draw this out. So if price is going to disrespect this fair value gap, we're going to trade back down into this zone, and we're going to get a candle closure outside. So we're going to get a candlestick body outside of this bullish gap to the downside, and then after that, what's going to happen? Price is going to continue down lower. Okay? So if this gets a candle closure below it, this is now an inversed fair value gap. It is disrespected, and we should continue lower. So inverse on the bearish side of things. So we have our bearish fair value gap over here. Boom, boom. If this gap is going to get respected, we're going to look for price to trade back up into our gap, and then boom, candle closure and reverse out. I don't know why that arrow didn't continue. Candle closure and reverse out. Boom. And if it is going to get disrespected, we are going to look for price to trade back into our zone. We're going to get a bullish closure out of this gap, and we should look to continue up higher. So let's look at some examples on the charts. There's actually a few good ones right here. So our first thing that we were looking at is an untapped fair value gap. That would be up to this point, obviously, over here where price comes back into it. This would be an untapped fair value gap, so up to there. So we created the gap, and nothing came back up to touch it yet. So when we're down here, if we find, again, this is way down the road, Right now we're just worried about identifying stuff. But if we're down here and we find an entry point, this untapped gap is a good spot to target for our exit. This is why we want to be able to identify those. They're good exits for our positions that we're in. So, our second example, a respected fair value gap. And actually, we can go right here and look at, for the meantime, actually no, we'll go here. This one is a good example. So right here, we have our fair value gap. We have a bearish fair value gap because look, 1, 2, 3 candlestick pattern. The wicks don't touch, right? Remember from episode 1, we have it's actually a big fair value gap right here. And then look, it gets respected. Price comes in, touches this fair value gap, and then delivers lower. So this would be an example of a respected fair value gap. And this works on every single time frame. So we're on the 1 hour right now. We go down to the 15-minute. We can find one here, right? Look, there's a good example right here. Boom. Price comes into it, closes back out of it. It respects it, delivers lower. We can even go down to the 1 minute, right? Down on the 1 minute. We have let's find a good example. Right here. So, boom. Our fair value gap. It's untapped for a while. Price comes down, touches into it, respects it, and delivers higher. Again, this is like a very small part of my strategy. It's very important to learn because it's a good roadmap for where price wants to move. It can also be a good confluence to line up. A confluence is like a reason to get in a trade. So it can be a good confluence that we can pair with other confluences that can further confirm our trade idea. But for right now, I just want to worry about identifying them. So get on the charts, mark out 5 bearish fair value gaps that get respected. Again, I'll show you one more time. So this is a bearish fair value gap. We touch it, and then we deliver lower. Touch it, deliver lower. Okay, so mark out 5 bearish ones that get respected, and then mark out 5 bullish fair value gaps that get respected. Okay, so now that we have identified our fair value gaps that get respected, let's talk about the ones that get disrespected. So this is actually a pretty good example right here. We have this 1 hour bullish fair value gap, right? So we have this 1, 2, 3 candlestick pattern. And then look, when we come back down into this bullish fair value gap, instead of touching the midpoint and delivering higher, we close all the way through it. So we disrespect this gap. We get a candle body down on the other side. And then look, we start to deliver lower. And I'm actually going to drop down to the lower time frames. We'll go on to the 15-minute. We'll find another good example for you guys. So right here, right? This is a good example. We get our bullish fair value gap. So look, 1, 2, 3 candlesticks. Here's our bullish gap. Again, go back to episode 1 if you're not quite familiar with these. Work on marking these out. But look, we get candle closure through it, and then we deliver lower. Same thing over here. We got a bullish fair value gap. Here's our 1, 2, 3 candlestick pattern, bullish fair value gap. We get candle closure through it, and then look, we sell off hard. Look, boom. We disrespect the gap, we deliver lower. So again, we're not just going to enter off of these, but it's a very good confluence to pair with our other ones that we're going to learn. So if I start to see a few things line up that I'm looking for, and then, oh, look, we just disrespected this fair value gap too. Like, I'm very confident we're going to go lower. That gives me more confidence to enter the trade that I'm about to enter. Before you guys get on and practice marking these out, I want to show you an example of a bearish gap getting disrespected. So let's go right here. Here's a good example. So right here we get our bearish fair value gap. Look, we got our one, one, two, three candlestick pattern. And then look, we get this strong closure through it, candle body outside of it, and then we deliver higher. So I want you guys to go on the charts, find 5 examples of a bullish fair value gap getting disrespected, 5 examples of a bearish fair value gap getting disrespected. And again, these are just confluences. This is not, we're not just going to enter trades off of these fair value gaps, but these are confluences, so reasons to enter a trade. And what we want to do is, you'll see down the road once we learn the other ones, we want all these confluences to line up. So say I see 3 things that I like, 3 reasons to enter a trade, and then I see, oh, look, we closed below this 15-minute fair value gap too. I'm going to be even more confident that my bias is right and we want to deliver lower. All right, you guys, that is going to be it for episode 2. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys are learning. Remember, get on the charts and get your shots up. Practice marking out when these gaps get respected and disrespected. Next video, we're going to move into talking about draws on liquidity. So these are super important for where our exit points should be in our trades and sometimes where our entry points should be. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see y'all then. Peace.